In this episode of Arts and Offers, we're going to be talking about how to get your work out into the world without the use of social media. Writers are feeling like I have to use social media, and writers are also feeling like I don't like using social media. Separating yourself, being known for something. What do people associate you with? In this episode of Arts and Offers, we're also going to be talking about how to approach social media in a way that's more positive and healthy while helping you achieve your goals with your art. Because like a lot of times, like if you're watching like a reel, a lot of times they lean into the entertainment aspect. I'm making someone laugh right now, you know. Yeah. But it could also be I'm teaching someone a fact that they didn't know before. And whichever avenue you take for your art and getting it into the world, we're going to help you think about how it can contribute to the lives of people who interact with it. You make poetry or art, and you may be asking yourself, how do I get this out into the world? And one of the answers may be social media. And depending on who you are, that is either making you groan with frustration and sadness, or it's making you feel excited. And so today what I'd like to do is talk about 3 ways that you can get your work out into the world without social media. And then 3 things to consider if you do want to use social media that will make your life hopefully more pleasant and get you the results you want with less of that frustration and negativity. Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to Arts and Offers. This is your video podcast where we talk about that link between poetry, art, and business. To guide you in that process, there is me. Hello, my name is Jeff.
I'm Matthias.
Hi.
How's it going, man?
It's okay. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. I'm like, I think I'm in like a really like kind of weird space where it's like the end of the year, but it's still like the middle of the month. So it's like there's still work to be done. There's still some stuff that I'm finishing up for the rest of this year. I have like a few kind of little like film contracts that I'm trying to finish out so that I can go into next year just working on the new stuff. But overall, things are looking up, man. How about you? What's going on the language poetry front?
Yeah, nothing too new. I do have some ideas. For instance, I want to next year expand on the Poet Business Institute. So for those who don't know, we have like a weekly workshop where we just talk about, again, something that's either craft related or business related or things like that. And I've kind of been asking myself, you know, what's kind of like the next evolution of that? And so there's 4 modules that I'm kind of working on creating. But I'll have more details on that soon, hopefully. But nice. Yeah, besides that, things are good. I've been also not as much with the verses, but just with my own like Jeff Anderson stuff. Been playing around with
Who is Jeff Anderson?
Who is Jeff Anderson? Yeah. I've been playing around with that more on Threads, and this actually kind of leads to our central topic for today with social media. One of the things, the discourses that I see with poetry threads and book threads and people who are posting things related to writing on Threads is a lot of talk around promotion of work and writing and books, and honestly a lot of negativity towards it, especially with regards to relationship with social media. The kind of synopsis I'm getting is that writers are feeling like I have to use social media, and writers are also feeling like I don't like using social media and playing kind of algorithm games and things like that. And so that kind of leads me to our discussion for today. But that's my own impression of how I'm seeing a lot of poets and artists responding to socials. What is your own feeling towards them?
I think to the degree. So as far as like for what I observe, I think that's really consistent. Especially I would say like in my experience when it comes to like fellow filmmakers, you know, you see a lot of them. They're like, man, I want to make films. I'm not trying to like, you know, do the thing where I have to like post about, you know, my film or like, you know, kind of post like clips and stuff like for my film. A lot of them complain about, you know, vertical. Like that's like a
Right.
really big like,
I
my
want you
movies
horizontal.
like yeah,
You're
it's like
cutting out half
no,
a
I
frame.
I
Yeah.
can't it's like because of reels and TikTok and stuff
Right.
like that, it's just like what's formatted, like the way those formats come across. So yeah, so there's I don't want to say it's a gripe, but there is like some frustration with how you have to approach social media, and also with like how algorithms shift. So not necessarily what those shifts are, but because of the fact that they shift, it feels like okay, this is its own independent study, even
Yeah.
unto itself, and I can't be a person that is working on movies, working on a script, trying to promote my movies out to film festivals and stuff like that, and then also be somebody who is kind of logged in really heavily to kind of understand the algorithm. So yeah, there's frustrations on kind of
Yeah.
on all spectrums there.
I see that. I see the same thing with writing. Be like, I'm here to write books. I'm not here to post stuff about
Yeah,
what I'm writing. And I understand where that's coming from. Before we kind of answer that and talk about potential solutions for that or new ways to maybe approach it, that one may leave you in a more positive headspace, but two also might just be healthier in general. Let's imagine that we're almost like the analog artists, where we're like, you know what? I don't like socials. I'm not going to do them. And I'm still going to find a way to get my work out there in 2025, 2026, or whatever year it is. So maybe just like 3 ways that someone could consider doing that. So that way they can just kind of get into the thought process of like, how do I find solutions to this? Because there's always solutions. Where there's a problem, there's a solution for it.
yeah,
And I think that if you're someone that's like, I'm not going to do socials and I'm still going to get my work out, probably one of the first things that we then need to understand is, I think even just like zooming out and seeing what's the point of a social, like a social platform. The goal is, well, the original goal, anyways, I think was like connection between people,
right.
and it's supposed to ease that connection. Those connections can still be made physically, like it's just a different environment. Those things can still be made, and that's how they were made largely up until the last like 20 years ago or so. So if you're someone that's like, okay, I need to create these connections, but I'm not going to be using social to do it, then the first thing is, I think that this is where things, for instance, like events, hosting, going to, attending, frequenting, creating events, I think is the very first thing that we need to do. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, when I'm looking at a lot of the discourse online, when people are talking about events, it seems like a lot of people are waiting to be invited. Like I'm waiting to get permission from the bookstore to do a signing there, or I'm waiting to be a featured reader at a place, or I'm waiting for my publisher. People are putting so much weight on publishers to handle all the promotion aspects, which is a whole other argument.
yeah,
But regardless, there's a sense of, I can't do this. I need permission to do this. Yeah, it can't be something I operate exclusively on my own. And I think that's going to be problematic. I think we got to find ways to open that door ourselves.
yeah. I think just with respects to somebody kind of waiting for some of those, because again, when it comes to social media, and maybe we're going to talk about like what social media is here afterwards too, but social media in a lot of ways, like it's like an amplifier, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm sitting here, me and you are sitting here, I could tell you about oh, I'm working on this project, and now you are a person that knows about the project. Whereas like social media, because everybody has phones, everybody has, laptop, everybody is kind of like, they got Apple Watches and all of the surveillance devices. It's like, because they have all these ways to be able to check social media, you just, now you have a kind of a more direct kind of avenue to those people.
Right.
So, in reverse, like if you're like, well, I don't want to essentially, and you can, again, to be clear, you don't want to use that kind of amplification, or you don't want to like lean into like kind of that side. Now, I think it does kind of require that you are now kind of saying, well, hey, if I'm not going to be using that amplifier, then that does mean I have to be more ambitious when asking or when trying to, like, get these other kind of I'd say corporeal, like in IRL opportunities, like just when it comes to like features, or if it comes to like getting your things published, like you have to be a lot more in person for that.
And I think I'm working with one person right now. She's about to host her first in-person workshop series, which is great. Love to see it. And she was having a conversation with another artist and say he was going to like have the venue where she can do it at. And I love this question that he asked, because the same question I would ask. And the question he asked is like, what would make this event a success? So if you're thinking about this event route and you're thinking about maybe potentially starting your own, which I would encourage you to think about, as someone who's hosted a lot, being honest about what's the success. And I would really encourage you, for a lot of things we talk about today, including when we talk about socials, is you control the metric for success. So if you're like, the only way this event is successful is if it's a packed room or if 20 people attend, then you're setting yourself up for work that's that can be very challenging. It's hard to get people in seats right now. You may be seeing this in your own cities as well. Poetry events nowadays compared to, 5-10 years ago, it's there are still, don't get me wrong, there are certainly still events that are draws for people, but starting out shows is really hard right now. It's really hard to get people out, and it's only going to be harder, with the economic stuff because money's tight. And so if we can shift the metric for success away from like numbers of people attending to other things, to be like, hey, I do this event, now I can put it on my resume. I do this event, I can record myself doing it. And that's a big portion of what Diverse is doing with the production side of things. If I do this event, the success will be I leave with some sort of tangible thing. Like if it's the goal is like we go to this event to write a poem, I'm going to leave this event with my own poem. So, if people come, great. If people don't come, though, great, because it doesn't matter, because I can still get what I needed to. So changing the metrics to things that we control, I think, is going to be really key with the events. To lead to another point I wanted to bring up, so like to how to grow without using social media. I think another aspect, and people are going to hate me, I think, for saying stories. I think you want to think about.
I hate you before you even say it.
I know, that's why. You came here to say it to my face on tape, so everyone can see.
I came pre-hated.
Is personal brand. How is it? Who is it? Is it? I think it was Matthew McConaughey just wrote like a book of poems or something like that. And like he puts it out, and it's like instant like bestseller. It may not be; it's another actor or someone like that. But like it's someone.
I mean, it's believable.
We've
that
heard
he
of this
would be,
before.
yeah.
Like it's not surprising. Like I know, like Madonna. I know Madonna made like a children's book like a couple years ago, and of course that jumps to the top. But why is this happening? It's because it's the same thing. Like if Beyonce were to drop a children's book, same thing would happen. But people are able to reach that point, even though they're not even known as authors. You've been writing longer than they have been. And they can drop something and immediately surpass you numbers-wise. But they're able to do that because they've built the personal brand. They're a household name, And so this gets back to something we talk about. I made a video, so we have a book club called the Creative Companionship. We talk about business books and how to apply them to poetry and living on poetry. And one of the things we talked about, recently is this aspect of like differentiation, like separating yourself, being known for something. What do people associate you with? Creating an association, because just being an association, like, oh, people hear my name and they think artist, it's probably not good enough. We got it like a specific thing, a specific type of art. Like if I say, for instance, like Pablo Picasso, what kind of art do you think of?
Probably the Blue Period.
Blue Period. So that's
one
like thing. So that actually is a great thing, because you think Blue Period, I think Cubism.
That's okay.
So he's an artist that now, if I type in Blue Period artist, I'm going to hit Picasso. If I type in Cubist artist, I'm also going to hit Picasso.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
Another artist like Dali. If I think of Dali, I think of surrealism. I think of melting clocks. You know, there's things I associate, and he painted other stuff, but these are two things I don't just associate art with him. I associate specific things. So what do people associate with you with? What I hope when a lot of people, and you know, it's really one thing that was really affirming to me. I had a conversation with my mom recently, and my mom was like, "Oh, we need that." And one of the things that I think speaks to the work that the Verse is doing is she was talking about. Like, oh, Jeff, I see the work you're putting in to help artists find ways to live on art. And I was like, that's exactly it. Yeah. That's exactly it. It's the associate, like building that name in the city of like when people are like, oh, I do poetry and I want to find ways to live on poetry. Trying to be that top spot.
Yeah. I also a small hilarious backstory. Like apparently, like Jeff critiques his mom's poetry. We're at his event. We're here, and his mom's like, "Yeah." And I showed Jeff my poem, and then he just immediately told me everything is wrong with it. And I was like, classic. But yeah, so no, I think that
Isn't
there's
that a show of love, though. To be honest with people,
I'm sure you would think that. I'm sure you would think that for sure. Absolutely, I could see that. But no, I think it's we don't. I think branding actually should feel almost like this, like of course. There should be like almost in a of course nature when it comes to branding, to the extent that like maybe you don't even necessarily realize it. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to like Kool-Aid is not the drink. Kool-Aid is the brand. You know what I mean? Like that's how, like when you're a kid, in your mind, it's like I can, if I'm going, if like, you know, they have like the, okay, I'm dating myself, but like you can get like the 9 to 15 cent packs of Kool-Aid from, let's say, Kroger. And like you get those packs of Kool-Aid. Like the thing that made me realize that Kool-Aid was the brand is that like the off brands are not called Kool-Aid. And I was like,
and they're also cheaper.
And they're also cheaper. And they're also the same thing. Yeah. Which is like,
so when you don't have a brand, what happens is you become a commodity. So it's just like, I want to buy art, so I just buy this random thing. I don't even know who made it. You can go to Target and buy this commoditized art. They have sections where you can put it in your dorm room, right?
Yeah.
A brand is, as soon as you attach your name to it, the price goes up.
Right. And that's, so I mean, yeah, so essentially like, yeah, like there is because Kool-Aid was such a, like, I didn't even know to like register this drink as like there is something else. It's just flavored sugar, but it's just like there is something else, and like no, these other brands aren't necessarily calling it that. But like, you know, the one that is really popular calls it this, and this is what it is. And you know, when you are a brand, when you are in your work and the things that you do are a brand, what you now become, you know, is, you know, I'm not, and again, you can, the quality still has to be there, and kind of the way that you're able, part of the way that you're able to become a brand is through quality. You know what I mean? You like, you know, that's also important. But outside of that, you know, people are now knowing you for something. Mm-hmm. Now they're saying like, if I want this in an artist, this is who I go to, and this is who I resource.
And the quality is dependent on the person that you're reaching towards. Like, for one name we mentioned a lot in the poetry game is like Ruby Carr. A lot of poets attack her for quote unquote the quality of her work, yet she's also outselling most of the people who are critiquing her. Mm-hmm. Right? So the quality is dependent. It needs to be of enough quality for the person who wants it. So that's kind of something to think, because different people are looking for different things, right? So going back to our discussion, you know, if you're trying to build without social media, then we need to be building that personal brand. One of the other aspects of the personal brand too is people talk about you when you're not there. And everything I'm seeing on like social media posts, people complaining about it, is they're the only ones talking about their work. And if you're the only one talking about your book's not going to do well. Other people need to be talking about your book when you're not there. So part of this idea of personal brand, like how can you do it? Like, and this ties in maybe to the third thing is like having something that people can readily access even when you're not in a room that lets people know about what you're doing. To give an example, we talk about like the little workbook I made that's like become poet in 30 days. I mean, that's not a social media thing.
Right.
It's a physical thing. I'm leaving it at coffee shops. I resupply them when they run out and things like that. And people can take it for free. It has my name on it, has the contact info and things like that, but it's something that is letting them know about who I am, but also helping them achieve a goal. So when you're distributing physical things, that's another way that you can do this without using social media. But you really need to be honest about what am I giving to the person who gets it, because, for instance, like if you just leave, like let's say I was talking with one writer and they're like, I want to get my book out, but I don't know what to do. I was like, what if you like kind of like go old school like Charles Dickens? Like, what if you take like the first chapter, you go to Amazon, you self-publish just the first chapter. So then like you get the ISBN and then you can print out copies in a professional way.
Yeah.
And then like you leave copies of that places.
And get people hooked.
But the thing is that you're going to have to also think about, why would someone read it? I'm literally in a bookshop. I haven't even been enticed to read a lot of the books on these shelves, even though I'm surrounded by them. So it's the same thing. Like if you're leaving a book in like a coffee shop, you have to give someone a reason to pick up that book. So it's like when I did like, become a poet in 30 days, I'm giving you something. I'm giving you the chance to become a poet. I'm giving you a chance to feel sophisticated. I'm giving you a chance to feel creative.
Yeah. And I also think that, I mean, kind of a part of what you're saying, and what maybe this is what I'm reading from it, is essentially turning this kind of you not being on social media into like a feature and not like a headache that you're avoiding. You know what I mean? So it's like, social media is cool, but like if you're on social media, you don't necessarily get this hard copy or this like paperback, like kind of like this book, this tangible object that, this is not online. Mm-hmm. This thing right here, if you want it, you have to be here. You have to like actually like have one in order to kind of get the benefit from it. And the thing is, like, its benefit translates to people that are online, that are doing the social media thing. But, again, just kind of flipping the paradigm from, like, I'm not on social media because it's just a headache, to now it's like, you could even almost make, events where it's like, hey, these are these books and I'm going to sign these books. I know who I gave these books out to. And then now you can have like events that are specifically just for book owners. Yeah. Now you have somebody who feels like, oh man, my possession of this gives me this special entry into this kind of almost like covet, and it becomes coveted because it's exclusive, because there's not a lot of spaces open, and I have one of them.
Yeah. That brings me a couple of ideas. Like, what if I like printed off the like first chapter of if I'm like a novelist, the first chapter of it, and then I make different covers with different people's names. Like, like you can buy like a little fake like license plates that like have like person's names, like Kelly.
Yeah.
You've probably never seen one for Matthias. I know I haven't.
I've never seen one for Jeff with a G.
I've never seen. I was about to say that. That's Jeff with an O to you, sir. But like, what if you made the book covers like Kelly's or Michael's?
Yeah,
you
can get
like
those
Jerome's, those
like presses, that you put on those books. So I think they're like $40 something. Like I was thinking about getting one
for the poet business.
And like you can like get one of those, and then that way, just pull it on.
And so, and the thing is that people are going to see, oh, that's interesting. This book's for Kelly. I'm not Kelly, but I might know a Kelly. I might know a Jamie. I might know someone, right?
Yeah.
Another thing too is like, just an idea that came to mind. Like, like those little free libraries outside people's houses and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a book from one?
I have.
Really? That's great. I have not.
Well, it wasn't in Columbus. It was like it was in Cincinnati. Like not this past summer, but the summer before that. And the reason it was like there was like an event, and it was like it was at like somebody's house, and like their neighbor like had one, and we were talking to like their neighbor was at the event, so we were talking to their neighbor.
This is
And so
something.
this was like it's not like a casual I was like, but their neighbor was at the event and was like, we have this book, and then like I took one of the books,
So
but I also
notice
gave
that. Yeah.
2 books. So yeah.
So now I'm so glad you shared that, because now that gives them motivation for why it happened. Because
Yeah.
the reality is, if you were probably just walking down the street, you probably wouldn't have taken one. Do you think that's fair?
Oh well, yeah, I probably wouldn't be walking down that street.
Okay,
but yeah,
you
but yeah,
probably,
no,
like,
you're
been
right. You're
somewhere
right.
and
You're
there
right,
was
you're
one
right.
there, you didn't use it. I know I have. I've never taken. I've passed at this point, hundreds, but like I've never actually done it. But
Yeah.
what if that you put one outside of your house, but you specialize it. You make it like about your own writing. Like, again, you have to incentivize it. You got, why would someone do this? So you have to give them a reason. And it has to be something that elevates them or gets them what they want, But that you're taking that traditional model, but you're tweaking it to make it more enticing. So that's another idea.
Yeah, even better if it contributes to whatever world that you are building and whatever kind of, themes that you're leaning into as an artist. Like, I think that, we did this, and this is kind of like a, probably 0.0000001% of artists will ever be kind of, or especially writers will ever be like the level of like somebody like J.K. Rowling. But we went to this, it's a couple weeks, actually it was on Halloween that we went. And it was like this, it's like an experience thing where it's for Harry Potter, and we're essentially walking through this like trail, and this trail is like all decked out with like, it's supposed to look like a forest that's in Harry Potter. And there's like all kinds of little amusements and things that you can do with, like, you can buy a wand and you can kind of do things throughout the course of the trail. And I'm like, that is like a kind of like a really, really large scale example of, this isn't just something like, random that contributes to the world. It's like, this is a direct export from the world that it creates. And naturally, in order for it to exist, it's like licensed from like whatever official corporation that Harry Potter is, you know what I mean? Like whatever that is. But like, it's licensed from that, and they're able to create this experience from that experience, which is all just to say that, just when you scale that down to people's like to your projects, to what you're working on, and to what your brand as an artist is, essentially putting people into experiences that lean into whatever world or themes that you already have, will kind of keep them in that world. So now it's, I'm not just going to this event because it's for this book or it's connected to this book. Like, whatever the event is, it feels almost customized for this world.
And probably just one final thing I would add before we switch gears a bit is collaboration opportunities. If you're not trying to use social media to get work out, collaboration opportunities can be good. My caveat with that would be, it gets back to, again, the book we're looking at in the book club, the idea of zagging. You can't do what other artists are doing. If you're doing what other artists are doing, you're going to get what other artists are getting. And the reality is most artists are not getting much. So when we're doing like collaborations, like what if, like, think coffee shops again. So coffee shops, a lot of times when they give you hot drinks, they have like the little sleeves.
Yeah.
What if you're like, hey, can I stop by your coffee shop for a half hour and just write little poems on your coffee sleeves, or lines from my book, or things like that? Like, just, that's just one example, but any like non-traditional thing that you can do to collaborate with other businesses or organizations or people. And again, I would try to move in a direction away from other artists. Because we're trying to get people who aren't artists to interact with your work.
Yeah. One of the things that is like, it's kind of and it's like part and parcel, especially if you're like a multidisciplinary. So if you're doing like a lot of different, which I would probably say, if you're a poet that is leaning into kind of creating their brands, you probably have to get used to the idea of trying to be multidisciplinary, like, you know what I mean? But outside of that, when it comes to just like the thing, at least the things that I do, is like I'm working on pitches for all types of things. And so like, you know, I'm working on like a pitch for like doing like some voiceover work and stuff like that, for like there's, I don't want to talk too much about it, but like there's like a couple like organizations and stuff like that that I'm like, oh, you know, it would be cool if you had some like voiceover work to kind of help kind of push people in this direction, or to kind of put in the background of this kind of content, or to kind of put in the background even of your location.
I can get.
Oh, okay.
Finish your thought.
To even put into like kind of the background like of events and stuff like that. And that's just of like voiceover stuff. That's like not to even speak of, you know, I'm working on pitches when it comes to like doing like short film work, with certain spaces. I got a little bit of it like for like some writing and some like poetry for some spaces, but like kind of the primary thrust of it is like with the voiceover and film work. But yeah, just like, you know, you don't really know what's going to stick. And so kind of trying to creatively engage places that you might not think, you know, that you might not think of readily. I mean, I would also even, it's almost like kind of challenging yourself to, like in the same way that you might challenge yourself with a prompt. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, as opposed to trying to be like, which one of these organizations could use one of the things that I do, being like, okay, like almost like as a blind wheel, like, bam, okay, what can I think of that I could pitch this company? Yeah. Like what, like I can't use all the other companies. What can I think of that can, how can they use what I do, or how could we benefit each other? And then, you know, once you start challenging yourself like that, I think that you start seeing opportunities in more places.
Yeah. The thing I would say as you're thinking about everything we're talking about here, one quick question you can ask yourself that I think would really help you move forward, and I know it's helped me in terms of creating events, is asking myself is, can I name one other person that's doing this? And the answer is yes, then I'm not going to do it. Okay. Because it's already, it gets back to the concept of like, it's hard to be the leader in something. Like, it's hard to be the best poet in your city. Hard thing. But I can be the best poet in the city who's talking about, you know, linking poetry with business. You know, I can, like, getting to the point where people associate me with that faster than I associate the biggest names in the city with it. Because like, oh, there is that poet. Oh, but they do like nonprofit. They do grants and stuff. That's not them. They're not thinking about offers and things like that. You know, there's things I can do better with linking poetry to business than some of the biggest names in the city can do with poetry and business.
Very true.
You know, so think about where you can be a leader in. If there's already a competition, you need to find where there's none. I want to look at the other side. So there's some things to be thinking about if you're not using social media. If you are open to using social media, but you want to change your relationship with it, you want to make it less antagonistic, some things that I think are going to be really key for us are going back to something I mentioned before is metrics.